Welcome friends to Chaoticism. The Stalker series holds the adjective ominous near and dear to its heart, from the incredibly dark atmosphere to the appeasingly disgusting design of its mutants. It's clear GSC Game World wants you to feel vulnerable at every turn. To counter this feeling, however, the developers created a myriad of different suits of armor to protect you from the many hazards that lie within the zone. Military uniforms designed for straight combat, ecologist suits made for surviving anomalies and their devastating environmental effects, and the coveted exoskeleton, designed by Jesus himself to defy the four horsemen of the apocalypse. With the right upgrades and weaponry, you can become a demigod that lays waste to whomever they feel, effectively removing all feelings of fear and anxiety. But you want to see pain, you want to see gain, and most importantly, you want to see me get slain over and over again. So we're going to complete S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat without armor. The rules are elementary, my dear Watsons. No armor of any kind in either your body or head slot, effectively making us a walking ballistic dummy. And no abuse of saves as always. However, Call of Pripyat gives you a generous amount of mid-game saves, meaning we don't have to plan them out in an arbitrary, non-abusive manner. Right out the gate, we drop our currently equipped Sunrise suit in a display of dominance, and beeline it to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R to begin the faffening. If every side mission I did were mentioned in this run, it would be like 3 hours long, because there is a lot of running around and dying to be had for the whole family. But my first goal was to complete the quick and easy S.T.A.L.K.E.R side mission, because the reward for finding the vampire is a constant restocking of medical supplies in our personal locker. It was this mission where I truly realized how difficult my life was going to be for the duration of this run, and understood why stripping is so tantalizing. After testing the game's boundaries and getting backhanded like I did with my mom, Grouse and I popped out the back door next to our primary objective, investigating crashed helicopters. From here, I returned to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R and accepted another mission to ambush some black market deal going down. I'm only mentioning this because of what you're about to see. Imagine being the bandits watching this shit. We move on from our bloodbath and pick up a convenient gas canister and find the vampire, who turns out to be the S.T.A.L.K.E.R medical expert, who blows his brains out in a PG-13 manner. His most recent victim was the super douche Grouse, who could have filled a critical stereotype in a future boy band. Hint, hint. But the zone works in mysterious ways, so to alleviate the pent-up stress, we gas the Bloodsucker lair and molest the remaining 2 helicopters in Zatan. Moving into Yanov, we now needed to start our preparations for the headliner of this challenge. Get an RPG, get Strellick's dope-ass rifle, and assemble the boys. Whilst hand grenades are a god-given right in the zone, their time delay, lack of damage, and my inability to throw made them as effective as stoning someone to death for the crime of being a red dot on my radar. To compensate for these faults, I headed to the bunker on the west side of the map to get the RPG. I silently clapped some of the zombies around the area and eventually got inside the basement. Down here was a new enemy pulled from the cut content jail, a Buer, who is essentially a poltergeist on steroids and meth at the same time. This Freddy Krueger looking motherfucker has the ability to steal your gun and kill you with the flick of a wrist. Due to my lack of armor, the slightest touch from a thrown object sends me to the Shadow Realm. But my third attempt on his life was successful because he decided this was not Elm Street, and now was not the time for me to be tormented in the nightmare that was this challenge run. I collected my big booming phallic object and ran off to pilfer Strellick's gun and finish out the helicopter investigations. The SGI 5K I wanted and the second to last helicopter were both around this large warehouse, the stage for which my boy band would perform. But now is not the time to ogle its beauty. After investigating the final helicopter, we got aggressively ambushed by a gathering of groupies who heard a Studley former frontman was in town and attempted to slide into my DMs. Unfortunately, we've got standards, and I wasn't going to ruin my reputation. Be gone, fuck! Now is the time to assemble the boys. We had to pay off debts accrued from heavy drug usage, grant rights of asylum to escapees of an extremist religion, bribe a government science expert, and have a few shots with a homie. And just like that, the Prip Twats was assembled. Strider, the sassy cool guy who slams as lead guitarist. Sokolov, the awkward bass player who goes home by himself every night. Vano, the coked up rhythm guitarist who is both fun and terrifying to be with at a party. Zulu, the raging alcoholic who is ironically banging on the drums, and S.T.A.L.K.E.R, the handsome frontman who leads this ragtag gang. Our effects artist Nitro sends us off into the descent of long weeks jamming and lifelong STIs. The Pripyat underground requires a suit with a closed cycle respiratory system, much the same as a vow of celibacy amongst Catholic priests, as there is an ever-looming gas cloud within the first half of the level that requires some form of chemical protection, which a suit normally offers. Another way to counter this is by equipping a chemical protecting artifact, but artifact containers require suits, and as a reminder, we're not wearing one. So what options does that leave? As any good and famous band will tell you, girls come easy and drugs come cheap. But since most girls succumb at the mere mention of passing gas, that only leaves drugs. We have an antidote that allows us 1 minute of free breathing within even your grandfather's most foul of flatulence. This, however, does not protect us against the many mutant distractions that dice us like veggies. Nearly half my deaths/reloads came down to this one unbroken section. Twice I had been nipped in the heels to death by a rodent. Thrice I had forgotten to pop my wonder drugs. 4 times were determined suicides as I either blew myself up or dove headfirst into an anomaly. 8 times are attributed to a fallen bandmate, 1 having sort of been my fault.
Hey, he was my friend!
Oh hell, that was Strider.
And the last 13 were my many Snork-related deaths. These bad boys were beefcakes, causing me to go postal with my shotgun whenever one was near. But that left my life to a figurative game of roulette, as the Snorks possess a raging magnetic attraction to handsome men, and a large sweeping attack zone. The road to victory was painted with gallons of my blood. So many deaths led to optimizations of early parts, coming down to muscle memory. Blast the first Snork to ensure ally survival. Kill all the rodents on the way to and during the opening of the blast door. Pop an antidote and trigger the Snorks to jump at you. Kill them before they kill you. Zoom through the anomalies and vanquish the rodents on your way to the train tracks. Pop another antidote. Blow up the first set of 3 Snorks with a rocket, being sure not to be within its blast radius. Blow up the second set of Snorks with a rocket and finish off the survivors with a shotgun. Pop another antidote. Reload your rocket launcher and open the next door. Kill the horde of low-level Snorks with your last rocket or your shotgun. Get rockets and trigger the buttons. Dome all of the monolith that spawn without getting plugged yourself, or killing Strider.
Damn it!
I was puckered up in all holes the entire ride of the last hallway with the zombies, but managed to pull through without any of the boys dying. After this long ordeal, the Pripyats disbanded as we had little chemistry to begin with, and the lack of tail in the zone was not worth the effort. From here, we faffed about with the military until we had to enter Lab X8 in the middle of Pripyat. The objective in this lab was strange, as we had to uncover documents scattered about this maze, better known as Elm Street, instead of follow a waypoint and flip a switch. It was survival in my own personal section of hell. The first document I kept going towards was in a cafeteria. In here was another doped up Freddy Krueger. Beers have the power to just will you out of existence, and with the lack of cover from both the front and rear meant that I was guaranteed to die. Trying to ambush him in the bathroom resulted in my immediate banishment from this mortal coil, but I lucked out again where the beer decided to run in circles instead of kill me, allowing me to send him back to the cutting room floor where he belonged. I initially intended to get all 6 documents from X8, but one was guarded by not 1, not 2, but 3 beers. I pumped over 200 rounds of hot metal into this one beer's face, but his god mode hacks were far superior to protagonist powers. With no ammo left, I made a run for it, but was smitten like the unarmored cockroach I was. This display of outrageous bullshittery made me mad, and thus I avoided almost all conflict my next round, picked up 2 easy documents, and just left this circle of hell.
Nope.
We were in the endgame now, baby. All that was left was to get the hell out of Dodge. The final mission was a run through the streets of Pripyat under fire from zombies, mutants, and heavily armed and armored monolith soldiers. The zombies and Snorks were no problem, and I lucked out by getting the found Zulu autosave, as he is normally found by the building the Snorks were coming from. If I didn't get this save, I think I would have gone insane before completing this run, because that would have meant about a 4.5 minute time loss each attempt, which is an eternity to my primal brain. My first attempt Strelok got owned before getting to the statue, as crossing this wide opening was like being a good idea presented before Congress. I relied heavily on clearing out the left building, and after a few quick deaths, managed to drop all of the monolith and join the boys by the statue. From here, it was just a holdout until takeoff, as I felt like a piñata at a children's birthday party. But with raw skill and a lot of luck, I pulled through and completed S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat without any armor. Being so vulnerable to enemy damage makes you jump like an elephant whenever you hear those mutant rat growls or blind dog howls. This challenge was truly that, a challenge, but thankfully it was completable using the antidote in the Pripyat underground. Otherwise you would have to spam medkits to survive the gas, and that would take a hell of a lot. If you enjoyed this run and the shorter, more meaty format, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.